Welcome to the What You Don't Know podcast, brought to you by the Know Like Trust Report, which is a simple, actionable survey that asks the most important questions. I'm Teresa Nichols. I'm honored to have our guest today, Michael A. Forman, who is a speaker and an author, and his focus is networking and improving your networking, which is so amazing. I'm so glad to have him on the show today. I'm excited because he does one-to-one coaching as well as group coaching and speaking. And it's going to be great to get his perspective on this topic of feedback and know, like, trust. So, Michael, can you share a little bit about what you're doing lately and just some of the exciting things that you're doing now?
Well, what I'm doing lately, because I'm always looking for that speaking opportunity to share my knowledge on how to network and communicate with one another. Because that type of networking and communicating is not only business oriented, but you bring into your personal life as well. So it's
That's true.
it's very exciting because
Yeah.
every place that I go, and I go throughout the country, and I do a lot of workshops and a lot of breakout sessions. And I just tell, because look, it's basically common sense, but you have this disconnect. You have the 20 somethings and 30 somethings that after the pandemic just rely on their cell phone, rely on email, and they lost that one-on-one touch, that touch of another person. Because when you go to a networking event, you're dealing with the person, but there's a lot of things you have to do in order to gain the trust of the people you're speaking to.
And let's talk about, because I know that you emphasize know, like, trust. What is your definition of that? If you were to describe this philosophy of know, like, trust in your own words, what would you say?
Okay, well, first of all, the full thing would be if they know you, if they like you, if they trust you, then they'll do business with you. And it's very important because know you, eh, everybody knows you. You look, I'm a fun guy. I'll go out to the streets and I'll say hello. I'll talk to somebody on the street and they'll always talk back to me because they know me. Now, do they like me? Well, that changes things a little bit. They may just say hi and move on. Okay. So now that brings the circle in just a little bit more because know you, like you. That's one thing. But now to trust you, that's the big factor. They have to trust you in order to do business with you. If they don't trust you, why are they going to do business with you? Okay. And you're not looking to have clients. You're not looking to increase your clients. You're looking to increase relationships. And that takes a whole lot more time and effort than just clients. Clients, you buy something, you go to a store, you buy something, and that's fine. That's a client. It's a relationship, though. You're getting to know it. And the way that I usually explain that is if you run into somebody in a grocery store and it's a client. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Hey, Teresa, how you doing? Oh, everything's good. Okay, goodbye. And you keep on walking. But if I bump into you, say, hi, Teresa, how are you? How are the kids? Oh, I heard your son was in Little League. He got hurt, and everything. I hope he feels better. Listen, I got to go. It's been great. I'll talk to you soon. That's a relationship.
Mhm.
And you're looking to build the relationship because the relationships will last forever. The client come and go.
That's true. That's really interesting. Yeah, and I've been in business for about 10 years building websites, and I have clients who are still my clients, and I have clients who aren't my clients anymore, and there are some of them who are really good friends even though they're not my clients anymore. So that makes a lot
That's
of
right.
sense. That's really cool to think about. And I think I have tried to build the relationships and not so much focus on the technical work, but the actual relationship. So that makes a lot of sense. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. What about, have there ever been any situations where you were able to give somebody some feedback that helped them a lot with this idea of know, like, trust. Do you have any really fun examples of when you were able to do that as a coach?
Well, when I coach, I deal with so many different types of people.
Yeah.
And usually the feedback that I give one of my students is I have to in such a way where it's like, you want to make nice, but other times it's like, no, 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 listen. And I give it to them straight. And usually, like high school students, usually kids in clubs, in the debate clubs and things like that, I will coach them one on how to deal with their opponent, deal with the educators, deal with the staff. And all of that goes into winning as a person. So, when I came out and told them, listen, that's wrong. That's wrong. You shouldn't do it like this. And you can see them just like, oh no, no. I thought about it. And I said, all right, let me soften this up a little bit. And I went into how soft it was, how soft I said it was. And they turn around and say, oh, okay, that's a little better. So I have to think that this, an 17, 18-year-old student, it's not an adult in a professional world. So I have to treat them a little differently.
I didn't even realize that you worked with young people. So
Ab-
that's
well,
really cool.
absolutely. Well, listen, why not teach the people coming out of the universities and the people coming out of the high schools, because they don't know. What's common sense for me isn't common sense for them. They have to learn it. And so I'm going to have to teach them.
Yeah, I have recently heard of a situation at a city where the one of the departments was deciding to take off for a whole day. They were like last minute, they were just calling in and saying, hey, we're all sick. And they were going like to a baseball game or something. And when they did it, they had to call in all of these other people to do the work for them. And those people got paid double time because of this whole situation. So for years and years, they got away with it. And now that people are seeing what they're doing, they're just nipping in the bud. They're saying, hey, you can't do this anymore. And some of them are kind of upset. But the interesting thing about it is that, change happens. And ultimately, if it were me, I would say, okay, we got away with this weird thing for a little while. We were hacking the system for a little while, but now they've changed the rules. And so it's just an interesting way to accept feedback. And like you said, common sense isn't that common, but when things change, you had to roll with it. You have to just say, okay, we got away with it for a little while. But it's interesting how it's kind of sticking, how they're just saying, well, we want to do this. We still want to do this. We still want to be able to do this. It's just like, do you know how much money that costs the city to do that? It costs a lot of money. And we can't justify it now that we know it's going on. We can't let this happen anymore.
It
So,
depends
so yeah, just
on
an interesting story.
it depends on your way of thinking as a boss. Look, I was a business owner as well. I owned pizzerias, restaurants. I owned a graphic design studio. Um, so I know what it's like when my employees tell me things like that. And there are two
Yeah.
ways to look at it. You can either be hard nosed and say, look, you do it, you're fired. Okay. And that's just simple. Or you can take the other route and say, something, in May, let's say that the Mets are coming to our field, and I'm going to make it a baseball day, and I'm going
Mhm.
to invite everybody. You have to pay for your ticket, but I'm going to invite everybody. We're going to make it a company sponsored event.
Yeah.
So that's two different ways of doing it. So they're stopping it before it starts, but they're introducing an idea that they can all become part of.
Yeah, and that's a great way for the other side to see it as feedback, right? So our organization, they really enjoy this day, they really enjoy this camaraderie. How are we going to keep this going in a way that benefits everybody, that's kind of the happy medium, that everybody wins.
And
So I like that. That's cool.
keep their employees happy.
Yeah.
Because, companies always say, the customer is always right. Okay. Me as a business owner, I don't believe that. Okay. But I have to make sure that my employees are happy and are, because if they're not happy, they're not going to show that to their clients.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to have them happy in order to make your customer happy.
Yeah. That's a great point. I like that a lot, that even challenging feedback, you can take it and do something good with it. And
positive or negative.
Yeah,
It really
exactly.
doesn't matter as long as you get the feedback. Now, there are the feedback where they're really out of their minds, but you get that constructive criticism, and even some not constructive. You have to think about it, think about what you're doing, and then turn it around, think from the client's perspective, and say, oh, you know something? All right, we can finesse this a little bit and change it.
Ooh, that's a great word, finesse.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, I think if you always have an open mind, it's possible in most situations to remedy a situation, to make it work for everybody. So, yeah, so that makes sense. That's cool. Well, you had mentioned that you were in the military for many years. And
Yes.
I know that our military handles feedback in a really different way. And I was curious if that had made any kind of impression on you at all.
Well, the military feedback is a little different than corporate. Okay. Because in corporate, you can really be nice about it. You can give constructive criticism. In the military, it's like, that's wrong. You should do this. Or you should do this differently. Okay. Only the very good officers will tell you. Now, I was enlisted, so I received the feedback. The officers, only the certain officers will take that feedback and come down and say, okay, look, we got this as an idea. What do you think about it? And he put it onto my shoulders. Now, I was a desk sergeant, and the officer came down to my squadron commander, came down to me, pulled me aside and say, look, we got a little bit of information, feedback like this. This is what they're saying. What do you feel about it? And then that just opened me up and said, oh, that's not a bad idea. Or what, are they off the rocker? So it really changed things. If he would have come down to me and would have said, look, you did it this way, do it this way, that's it, I would have felt completely different about it. So, if you include your employee, then it makes things a whole different thing. And they may come up with something completely different, and it would be a better idea.
That too, that different people have different perspectives on how to do things. And that's why being open-minded and being open to feedback is really important. Because if you are just closed to feedback and you're just like, nope, this is how I'm doing it, that's it, and you're not open to it, then, you're definitely just closing yourself to many, many, many possibilities. And there are so many possibilities and so many ways to handle things that it's just so much better to be open to other people's perspectives, because everybody has a different journey. Everybody has a different way of seeing things, and until you just listen, you don't know. You just have no idea what it is that they could contribute.
If you don't take that type of feedback, you're constricting your ways to grow. Yeah. Okay. So, it's like if you take a flower and if you put something around the flower very tight, it's really not going to grow. But if you give it enough soil, enough water, and everything else, and give it room, it flourishes.
Mhm.
So, you really have to look at it as, it's an opportunity for you to grow.
Yeah, that's great. And that's really the point with the know like trust report is getting feedback from every possible angle, because in a room people aren't always going to say what they think. They might feel uncomfortable in a situation. Also, there might not be time. When we're in a room, in a group, it might be an hour. And I know I'm in a group on Tuesdays, and sometimes I think I really wanted to talk to this person, and I did not get a chance. I did not have 2 minutes. So it is good that we have other ways to communicate, just like text and calling and email. I'm like, I'm really glad I can reach out to this person and say, hey, I forgot that I really wanted to say this to you last week, during the meeting. But time goes so fast that it's not always possible to get a hold of, get right in front of somebody. And so
Well,
the goal with the know like trust report is to allow someone this opportunity to say this thing that may have been on their mind that they may have not been able to say. So,
people
yeah.
would much rather not say something in a group
Mm,
as private. Okay.
right.
So it's very different because you have those people that will stand up and say anything anytime and dominate the conversation.
Exactly.
And the quiet person would say that's the extrovert. The introvert will just say, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let them talk. So you might
Absolutely.
they may have accomplished what they want to accomplish, but not for everybody. And
Absolutely.
when I go around and speak about network and communication, I have a whole separate segment on being an extrovert and an introvert.
Wow, that's really cool. I hadn't thought about that for the No Like Trust report, that hopefully the introverts will embrace it and say, hey, this is my opportunity to express my thoughts. And somebody's giving me this opportunity versus me just getting drowned out by the extroverts.
Right.
So,
And that's them
yeah.
privately as opposed to publicly.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and I even think that having this anonymous way to do it, because some people don't really want their name associated with some kind of feedback. So sometimes feedback is just better if you can say it and not even have the person know who that it was you, because then
But
it's just real neutral.
yeah, well, it's good in some respects and not so good in other. It's good you keep it anonymous, but if you keep it anonymous, it'll give people a little more power to really say something really nasty or really bad or really something about somebody because, like, well, somebody will see it and they'll have to, go take a look at it. Okay, so you have to find that middle of the road uh, uh, perspective because you have to take out that person or those people that will say just 100% negative things just because they can, and they can because they're anonymous.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've thought about that with the report. One thing that I did, I put use humanity, not profanity.
Yeah, very good.
And
Very,
I think that will help people to get the idea of that this feedback is actual feedback. It's not you're a jerk or or some other negative thing. It's just an opportunity to say something like, and I was listening to one of your other podcasts, and a person came in and they gave their card to everybody and they were like, here, call me, and then they walked out, and so everybody just dropped their card. But if somebody had a minute to say to that person, hey, you know what, we want to get to know you, and that's when we're going to do business with you. So next time, stick around. Next time, hang out with us, talk to us. And that's really good feedback for somebody. So,
there,
so
there,
yeah, I thought that was
there's,
cool.
there's a story that I always tell everybody. And it's when you're at a networking event and you have a table of like 4 or 5 people. And I always say, because one time a guy came up to our table and said, look, here's my card. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, let me have all your cards. Boom. Oh, thank you. Listen, I really want to get to know every one of you, but I want to hit everybody in this place. So listen, I'll get back in touch with you. Goodbye. And
Yeah.
he left. And
Yeah.
everybody's sitting there with the one card saying, well, what are we doing? And everybody threw the card out.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you walk up to that table, that networking table, you don't say a word. You don't talk. You listen. You listen for the conversation. Is this a good conversation for me? Oh, it is. Okay, fine. Then you interject 2 sentences of something that is worthwhile. And if it is worthwhile, then you'll have 2 or 3 of those people answer you back. And
Yeah.
that's what you're looking for. That's the response that you're looking for. And then the whole thing about the rapport building and everything and the follow up, all of that comes into it afterwards. But it's very important that you don't talk. And
Listen.
you'd never go to a networking event thinking that you're going to get something.
So
Always
true.
like you're always looking to give. Give, 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 give. What goes around comes around, you will receive, but look to give. When you find somebody at a table and you hear what they had to say, tell me about that. Tell me what you do. Tell me how you do it. And at the very end, because you're listening and then you're pausing, that pause is so important because it shows that person that you're listening to them. And you say, you know something? I like what you do. And I like how you do it. How can I be the best referral source for you? How can I help you in your journeys? And usually they're so taken back by it that, and you haven't given your name, your what you do, haven't given your business card, nothing. If you did your job correctly, they're going to ask you for your business card and ask you for what you
Nice.
do.
That's a really great way to think about it too, that while the business card is very useful, it shouldn't be the center.
No, it's
It's a
not. And
tool, but
afterwards,
yeah.
when you get their business card, listen, when I go to a 3 or 4 hour networking event, I'm only taking away like 15 business cards. And you're like, well, I have a stack. What are you talking about? 15. Because on the back of those cards, you're writing the date, the name of the function, and something you spoke about. If you did not speak to that person about something, then did you really make a connection? Because all of that will feed into your follow-up.
That's a great
Okay.
thought too. Yeah. I I network with a guy who paints, and so every week I ask him what the color of the week is. And the really cool thing is that every time I've asked him, he's given me a different color. And like one of them was like misty breeze, so and what's funny is, he paints all the time. So, I guess at some point would he just get bored and say, this is my job, this is what I do. But every time I ask him, he comes back really quickly with a really fun different color. And it, I can tell it engages him a bit. And
It,
it's just a fun thing to do because I know his industry changes. I know paint colors change. I know trends change. So it's nice to get his perspective on what's trendy.
every industry changes. Every industry.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're meeting somebody, everybody heard of the 30-second elevator speech. Oh my God, I have to perfect my 30-second elevator speech. Well, that's great. Wrong. Your 30-second elevator speech should be 5 seconds. 5 seconds, because what is the job of that 30-second elevator speech? Is to get a response. Positive or negative, doesn't make a difference. But a response. So if you just tell them what you do in 5 seconds, and if they say, oh, that's nice, then it's really not worth it. But if they come back and they say, well, what do you mean? Or how do you do that? Ah, that gives you that opening to go on and continue it. And the 30-second elevator speech is it was invented somebody going from the first floor to the second floor. You had
Yeah.
that much time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's fine. Give that 5 seconds. And if they are interested in asking that question, get off the floor with them and see if
Nice.
they'll, right? And then you do the same thing as if you're in a networking group, networking event. You let him talk. People love to talk about themselves. They
Mm,
love to talk. Let them talk. Let them talk. Silence is golden. You let them talk. Let them tell you about what they do for a living and everything else. And do the same thing. And say, I really like what you do and how you do it. How can I be the best referral source for you?
Actually, I'm having lunch today with my bookkeeper, and that is one thing that I have not done yet. And I thought about it last week. I thought I need to ask Ren how I can be a good referral source for her, because I love what she does, and I totally believe in her, and I know her and I like her and I trust her. And so, I want her to know that. I want her to know that I want to be a referral source for her. So,
Nothing says it better. Nothing says it better than you being a referral source for her.
yeah.
And what will that do? That will elevate you in her eyes. They'll say, oh, you know what? Teresa really understands what I do, and
Yeah.
she's going to refer me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the back of my mind daily of just, who needs Ren, and, who needs Bright Road Financial Services, and who would really benefit from it, and just like creating those win-wins. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. Well, let me ask, have you ever gotten really great feedback from something that helped you out a lot, and that, maybe made a shift in things that you were doing?
Really went through that recommendation. I had a habit of coming out to a table and telling them what I did, what
Oh,
I do.
yeah.
Okay. So the suggestion was, Michael, don't talk. Listen. Just listen. And it's very important for all the 20 somethings and 30 somethings to take that cell phone and put it away. Okay.
Nice.
Because you want to show that you have 100% of their attention, and nothing, if you have the cell phone out upside down or not, doesn't make a difference. It means that you don't have it.
Yeah.
Okay. So by listening to that person and then pausing after they say it. Now, how important is that pause? It's so important, because you're not going to respond with the next thing that you wanted to say. You're going to respond to what they had to say.
Mhm.
And to me, that was the greatest improvement that I've made.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I
Well, it sounds
talk
like
about it.
you had a really great mentor.
I had one or two mentors, but I have to tell you that the bigger mentors, I had a lot of smaller ones. Okay. Friends who were in my position, and they said, no, try this, try this, try this. But if I look at the really big speakers, they do it almost without even thinking. And that's what I had to get to. And that's really where I am right now. I do things without thinking about it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to pay 100% attention to the person that I'm talking to. I don't have to worry about where my cell phone is. I don't have to worry about listening to them and pausing. I don't have to think about doing that. I just do it.
Because now it's more of a habit that you've created to do.
But I think they said if you do something 10,000 times the same way, it becomes a habit.
Hmm.
You know, I don't think I did it 10,000 times, but I made it into an effort and a habit.
Well, and I know it's interesting too to think about that all of these suggestions work really, really well with your significant other as well. And, as you were saying that, I remember when my husband would come to me and talk to me, and I would try to be on my computer at the same time. And a while back, I started just shutting my computer. so that when I was talking to him, I knew that I wasn't going to get things crossed, and I knew that I wasn't going to get distracted by what I was doing, and I just started shutting my computer so that he knew that I was listening to him. And that has made a really big difference in our relationship. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
You know,
that,
I like to listen because my wife is so involved with the marketing and the C-suite websites and everything else. She's talking to these big people. So if I listen to her 100%, I'm always getting ideas.
yeah.
Okay. I am very interested in what she has to say
Hmm.
and let her talk about it because she's venting. Um, but I give her 100% of my attention all the time. And that is a key reason why I'm married 35 and a half years.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Congratulations. That is a feat and a blessing and an accomplishment for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and everything else that you're doing, being a speaker and traveling, it's hard to juggle all of that. But congratulations on that. I'm excited to read your book, and I've been watching the other podcasts that you've done, and it's really great for me because I do network all the time. So just kind of reiterating things that I know, but then also like I've never thought about writing on the business card, what it was. That would probably help me a lot because I do have a lot of business cards that I kind of forget, like, where did I meet this person? I can't remember. So that's really, really nice. I like that
You
one.
know, I always suggest doing networking events as often as possible. Okay. And I mean that by put it on your schedule that you can't do anything else.
Yeah.
Do it, let's say twice. Listen, there's enough networking events to
Oh,
go
absolutely.
out.
Yeah.
Okay. So every other week, because the first one, it's not going to work out so well. You're not going to remember everything that I talk about and everything I do, but it'll get you started. By the third or fourth time, you're going to have it almost down pat and you're going to know what to do.
Hmm.
So if you do all of this and you put it on your schedule, you'll get better and better and better. And I'm talking about your Chamber of Commerce after hours meetings. That's great. You'll it's usually the same people, almost the same people
Yeah.
that go to it every week. But every once in a while, you'll see somebody walk through the door and immediately go to the wall. Like
Yeah.
they're introverted, that they're really not sure. Like, all right, this is a meeting. What you should do, and I call this being the host, not the guest. You
Nice.
walk up to them, say, hi, I'm Michael. What's your name? Teresa. What do you do, Teresa? And you
Hmm.
tell me what you do. Oh, you know something? That's great. You know what? That table over there is filled with marketing people. Let me go over and introduce you.
Yeah.
So you introduce them. So now what did I do to you? What did I do for myself? I elevated myself in your eyes.
Nice.
So the know you, like you, and now the trust is almost there. Just
Yeah.
be from that one little thing.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
as the night progresses, you'll always say, as you pass by that person will automatically be comfortable talking to you.
Yeah. And sometimes it takes longer than others. Of course, every person is a little bit different in how they invite people into their circle. And I'm in a networking group, and it was almost a year that I was there until there was one person in the group that came up to me, and it was right around Christmas time. And we had this big Christmas party, and I dressed up like an elf or, something goofy. And he came up to me and said, I need you to help me with my website. And he had started building it himself. And so he was doing a pretty good job, but was busy with his job. He was like a remodeler and, just it wasn't really his
Right.
thing. So it was just really cool though that I it took a little while, but I was able to build that relationship and that trust with him. And I was excited to take his website and to just finish it for him. And that was so cool for me that it took him some time, but he did come to me and say, "Hey, I need you to do this for me." And yeah, and that was just something that I learned, just like every person, it's going to be something different that that makes
Hello.
them say, I'm
Did I
ready
lose you?
to work with this person.
I think you
You're there, I
froze.
got you. Yeah, you're there.
You froze.
Or am I still frozen? Let me refresh it.
No, no, Teresa, you
No?
froze.
Okay,
You're
hold
still
on.
frozen.
Okay, let me refresh it.
You froze.
Woohoo.
You're like this. Yep, there you
Oh,
are. Okay.
did it come back? Okay.
Yeah, now it came back.
They'll edit that out. I'll just tell them right where it was. 36
Okay.
minutes.
No
Okay.
problem.
But thank you so much for all of your let's see, knowledge. That's a really good one. All of your
Okay.
suggestions, all of your advice for people. I love it. I know that it's hard walking into a room. So if you have these ways that you can make it less scary, that's a really, really good thing. So I really appreciate you.
No.
And what'd be really fun is if we did another interview, like every couple of months, it would be really fun since we're both doing the no like trust thing, and just kind of keep this conversation flowing. I think that would be really cool. So,
Well, I'll tell you, why don't you send me a link for your calendar? I'll
yeah,
pick a date out in a few months. And
yeah,
absolutely, we'll do this
that'd
again.
be fun. I love that. Yeah, thank you, Michael. All right, well,
No
I will see
problem.
you really soon.
Yes, you will.